when you're searching for love, you are searching for yourself. And when you find yourself, you find love. So being really intentional with what you're seeking when dating. Are you really just looking to find love for yourself and seeking validation elsewhere? Or are you truly being intentional of finding a great partner, not to validate you, but to help you on your journey through life?
Welcome to Reclaim Your Radiance, a sex, love, and relationship podcast where our focus is on your most important relationship, the one with yourself. Each episode, we are joined by an insightful guest who shares their story about how they've become their best, most radiant selves despite diverse challenges. We dive into the depths of loving yourself, creating healthy relationships, and prioritizing pleasure, play, and joy, all while never shying away from the tough stuff. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hello, and welcome back to Reclaim Your Radiance. I am super excited to be here with today's guests, Paige and Jacques. Together, we are going to explore what it looks like to consciously and intentionally navigate dating in 2023. I mean, what a minefield, right? We all hear the cliches tossed around. We've all been brought up on rom-coms and Hollywood and now social media that has shown us, in my opinion, a very narrow view on what dating is and isn't. And usually it paints it in a very horrible picture. And we want to challenge those stereotypes and talk about what it looks like to enter into the dating world with intention, clarity on your own values and what you're seeking, and with a healthy mindset. We are going to discuss how to actually get what you want from dating, keeping in mind that we are all seeking different things at different times, and that being aware of what you want is the first step. What are some healthy dating mindsets? What are questions we can ask ourselves and others to get clear on our values and intentions in our dates? What activities facilitate a way of getting to know someone in a way that supports your dating goals? I'm not saying we have the answers for you, but definitely a lot of thought-provoking discussions and healthy debates on the subject. As I mentioned, today I am joined by Paige and Jacques. Paige is an ex-professional ski racer, an avid solo traveler, and she's passionate about financial tech for small businesses. Feel free to reach out to her on Instagram at els.est, so that's ELLES.EST, if you're interested in connecting. We are also joined by Jacques. You may recognize his voice from the past episode on long-term relationships. He is widely known as the party scientist, and his hypothesis is that human connection is the greatest medicine that we possess, and that community is our greatest tool and healer. He is also known for throwing sober parties that enhance instead of inhibit our ability to connect. He can be found at thepartyscientist.com if you want to connect with him. Both of those spellings can also be found in the show notes. As a disclaimer, I'd also like to mention that if you hear some strange audio happening in the first half of the episode, we did have a couple technical difficulties with the mics along the way, and we did the best that we could. Enjoy! All right, welcome everybody. Welcome guys. How you feeling tonight?
I feel so refreshed to be with such powerful women, and I'm really excited to explore conscious relating as it applies to dating. And gosh, it's the 21st century, and I promise this is not just going to be a rant about dating in the 21st century, right, Kris?
No, it's not. I think we should start with whether, because we had this kind of discussion beforehand of, are we talking about conscious dating or are we talking about intentional dating? Like, does that look different?
I like the sounds of that. Yeah. Does it look different? What do we think?
Yeah. Intentionality is one of my favorite words. And I use this word sleepwalking a lot when I'm writing articles and when I'm talking about the norm for how we socialize. I use this word sleepwalking a lot. And I think that's the opposite of intentional. And I think intentionality to me and consciousness, to me, it has to do with attention, and then also having that intention, like what am I actually trying to manifest here? And so for me, bringing more attention into the date, but also having that intention and knowing what we're looking to how we're looking to behave on the date, and also what sort of relationship do we want to manifest? Why are we dating?
I think that's an excellent point. So the conscious part of conscious dating means you're giving it your attention, not passively going through the motions, but you're really present and engaged with the person or people that you're seeing and getting to know. And intentional dating, which is also what we're discussing here, is having a goal in mind, seeking a relationship not just because the movies or our parents, our peers, society, or what have you has told you that you should seek, but because you actually want it and you've identified the purpose and place that you want a relationship to hold in your life. And that can be for so many different reasons, right? Like love, companionship, an adventure buddy, for growth, for personal development, to create a family, to act as your financial partner. There are endless reasons that are all equally valid as long as both parties are privy to the true reason for the relationship and have consented to it. And I think the question of why are we dating is super important, but also I want to start by saying that it's so important that we continue dating. Like I feel like people can get really like frustrated with it and like start getting just kind of down on themselves, and then a lot of excuses can come up as to like, oh, like I'm just really focusing on work right now, or like I just don't have time in my life. And like
That's me. Are you making fun of me, Kris?
I'm not making fun of you, but I am referencing a very interesting conversation that we had a little while ago there, like that sometimes you can hear the excuses and you know that it's not true. And it's like, is this something that you're seeking in your life? Is this something that you actually find important? Like finding a partner, is that high on your list of things that you want to bring into your life? And if it is, then why are you not putting time towards it?
I love where you're going with this. And the third term I want to introduce here to conscious dating is effort.
Yes.
Effort, putting time and effort into the date, and designing it, designing it with effort. I feel like so many people, they may be sleepwalking through their conversations, but they're also not applying much effort and expecting rewards with little effort.
Yeah, for sure. You get out what you put in. And that's the same with dating. And yeah, just kind of finishing off the point before that, I just really encourage people to look at, like the stuff you put energy into, the stuff that you pay attention to, that's going to be where you see the results. And like really question yourself, we all have the same amount of time. Nobody has more time than anybody else. And what you pay attention to happens. And don't kid yourself. If you want it, go after it and commit that time to it. Because like the second you have a partner or you successfully found somebody that you want to spend time with, you're going to spend the same amount of time that you spend dating on them. So that time is always going to be reserved for that romantic relationship.
I just want to summarize there's like three terms we've talked about so far: intentionality, attention, and effort. And what you just shared is emphasizing the importance of just continuing dating and not getting demoralized, and really consciously spending time and effort to manifest our dream partnership. And what I want to say to that is quality over quantity. People are on these dating apps just spraying and praying. And I would love to hear what you have to say about that, Paige, because you're like a sales guru. Like you have this whole other side to yourself, and you've done the CRT training, and CRT is the conscious relationship training, which is quite well known in our town of Vancouver. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I don't put a lot of time and effort into dating is because my standards are unrealistically high, and I am too far on like the quality over quantity spectrum. So I just write people off way too quickly, right?
Which isn't good.
Well,
sorry, that's gross oversimplification, but yeah, Paige.
I mean, I think if you're telling yourself that you're writing them off too quickly, then there's some truth there that needs to be unpacked. I do want to add one layer before we get into that is time, intention, and effort. We put time, intention, and effort into looking for the best partner. But there are so many people, when I flip it, this is a question that I ask on a date is, would you date yourself? And the amount of people that stumble over that question shocks me. And it's because they don't take the time. This is more so a question I've seen come up with heterosexual men. So I'll clarify that. Just my stats is they don't know. And or even though they love what they do and they make all this money and they're super proud of themselves and all of these things, the answer comes down to no, because they don't spend enough time on, they wouldn't have enough time for them. They wouldn't have, getting into the details here, but short and sweet, the answer ultimately is I don't know or no. So when we put this time and effort and intentionality into looking for the best person, they also have to look for them to be the best person to link up with that person.
This is so beautiful that you've just totally flipped the script. Dating for a lot of people is from this energy of seeking,
100%.
Pursuing. And you know what Tony Robbins says? He not to go cliche, but he says to manifest your dream partner, become person that will attract them.
Yes.
And one of my, I say this a lot, but like, instead of what do I want, it's what do I offer, right? Like, I think that's straight from More Than Two. I think that's where I got that concept from, the book More Than Two. It's a wonderful book on dating and ethical non-monogamy, but it's really just about relationships, right? Like it can be used for anybody in any type of relationship, but yeah, just like flip that. It's not about this is what I want this checklist of things. It's like, what do you offer a relationship? Like, you don't want somebody who can only see you once every 2 weeks because like your schedule is full and that just works for you right now. That's what you offer. Like, you don't want somebody who's compassionate. You offer compassionate giving and kindness into your relationship. And just like flipping the script again, like it's like taking responsibility for what you bring into a relationship is just so powerful.
And this also reminds me of a TikTok soundbite. Oops, here we go. Of someone saying that when you're searching for love, you are searching for yourself. And when you find yourself, you find love. So being really intentional with what you're seeking when dating. Are you really just looking to find love for yourself and seeking validation elsewhere? Or are you truly being intentional of finding a great partner, not to validate you, but to help you on your journey through life or whatever the reason you're dating, right? Finding a purpose for that dating.
Yeah, and I think what we're nearing is the difference between a partnership that is healthy and that is progressive and that leads to expansion, mutual expansion versus a codependency.
Codependency is so popular and so vast. Yeah, I'm going to go with popular. Let's take it down a notch. It's too popular. I want to be cool before it was cool.
To be fair, I feel like it has been bred into us socially to be slightly codependent. And there's so many examples in the media and in just everything that we've seen of codependent relationships. And codependency, I think we can define it just as because it exists in so many different forms. But I think the way I'm thinking of it is like, even just trying to get so much of your, let's even just say putting your happiness on someone else. Like, oh, this person makes me so happy. Or like, I don't even just like the quotes we see when people get married. Like some of that even shocks me because it's just putting so much importance of your life on somebody else. And it's like, wait, but you're losing yourself. Like even I've found that like I've had moments where I lose myself in my love for someone else and I lose myself in a relationship. Like in that, like you have to rediscover yourself when you come out of it, which I don't know. I feel like that's true for too many of us.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the extreme case because I have never gone on an online date. And I feel so content being single. Like, I am not insecure about being single. I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to attract my dream partner, and I have no need to attract my dream partner. Of course, sometimes I doubt, whether I could be happier. Like, I'm quite happy. Sometimes I doubt, wow, am I missing out on something really magical? Should I, and this is, what you brought up, am I not spending enough time and effort attracting my dream partner? And that's the doubt that comes up in my mind. But I want to just summarize what's been shared. We're discussing codependency. And when we relate codependency to intentionality, due to a lack of intentionality for the type of relationship one wants to manifest, people fall into codependency. And so I think the first step to conscious dating is recognizing that you don't want to be in a codependency. What sort of relationship do you want to be in? Do you want to be in a conscious relationship? Do you want a fuckboy? Do you want physical cuddling? Do you want friendship? Do you want a person who is profoundly capable of meeting you in your storms?
Yeah.
Like, this is so important. And I think this is the key to intentionality. It's this definition of what relationship's going to nourish us. What are our needs?
I also want to make it abundantly clear that there's no right or wrong. There's no better reason. There's no less better reason. There can be multiple reasons all coexisting all at once. Like, you can have like a goal of growth or companionship or love or whatever it is, all of them, none of them. And we all go through seasons of wanting different things. I almost feel like we should normalize dating for friendship. Like some of the dating apps though have like these taglines where they're like, just looking for friends or something, like where they're just like kidding, but like, and nobody takes that seriously, right? It's like, okay, we know that everyone's on here to fuck or like to find somebody, right? But like, we should normalize the fact that, when you get to a new city, for example, you need to date friends, right? Like, that's kind of what you're doing.
I have done that. Have neither of you gone on a Bumble BFF date? Because I did,
No.
And it was freaking magical, and I'm still friends with them, and I made a whole new group, and this guy sitting next to us was like, how do you guys know each other? Because he jumped in, and we said we just met on Bumble BFF. We're on a friend date. And he's like, what is that? And we're still friends to this day. It's magic. Definitely take a new friend on a date. See if you want to hang out with them, how they impact your life. And that's a really good thing, or segue almost, of what do we consider dating? What is dating in 2023? What does that look like?
Yeah. Wow. I just realized it's 2023. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Wow. Time is accelerating as we age, friends.
2022 is fine, but 2023 is terrifying.
So, my intention when I meet with women is to assess whether I want to be friends with them. That's my intention. Like, I'm not trying to date them. Often the first time I spend time with a new person, I invite them to the gym. I work out with them at the gym. And if they're not really into the gym, then their values are different than mine.
Okay. Well, our values are very similar, and I'm not into the gym.
You're going to come to the gym with me one of these days.
No, I'm not.
It's going to be so much fun. Okay. Let me finish. The point is, I invite people into my life, into my authentic, natural life. And if they love my life, then there's more compatibility. And so I am not dating conventionally. Like, to me, I'm not even going on dates. It's like, I'm just spending time with people, doing the things I love, and assessing whether the energy's there or it's not there.
For the record, I love getting hot and sweaty at the gym, and I love really short, hot and heavy sprints, and I love a long marathon, and I love to lift heavy things. So for me,
That was the sexiest ad ever, by the way.
I love that. Short and sweet. I love that you're bringing people into your life and seeing if they match what you're looking to do. I absolutely, I'm sure we'll get into it further, but dates, for me, they have to be fun things that I enjoy. It has to be something that I want to do, not I'm not a...
Wait, you're not a fan of fine dining at the steakhouse, Paige?
Listen, I could get a man to buy me an expensive steak any day of the week if I wanted to.
Yes, girl.
I'm such a hypocrite. I once picked up a girl in like a fancy car and like a suit. Like, oh my gosh, this was when I was in university.
Well, but I think there's so much value in, bring them into your life. Don't like go above and beyond into some like, I think there's times and places to go on like crazy dates that are like extra fancy and different and fun and sparkly. And we all like getting a little sparkly sometimes. But yeah, like I find the first 3 to 4 dates are so indicative of the rest of your relationship, of the way you spend time together. Like I look and it's like, oh, we went, hiking, we went kayaking, we went right and like doing active things together. But like, and even like sometimes it just kind of slides in. Like if we watch TV within the first 4 dates, I'm like, oh no, like it's immediately like this huge red flag for me. Cause I'm like, this is what I want to do when like we're just kind of like there's a time and a place, but for me, it's not on the first 4 dates. Like that means there wasn't enough conversation or like excitement or something. But like, I always just find that there's first 4 dates really shows you a blueprint of how you're going to spend so much of your time together.
For a little short story time, I once went on a evening ski on Cyprus with a guy who was going with his friend, and I tagged along as that kind of date. And he kept ripping down the mountain on his snowboard. His friend was, just getting into skiing, felt really uncomfortable. I'll spare us kind of the very clear details of giving this all away. But his friend was really unsure, and I had professionally ski raced. And the guy that I had gone on a couple of dates with, or 1 date prior, nope, this is the third date, he knew that I had professionally ski raced, and he just kept bombing down the mountain and leaving his friend who was super shaky. And I was like, what do I do here? And that's super weird. He told me like, you're kind of on a date with us, jokingly, right? But he kept leaving his friend. I'm like, this is a weird friendship. I'll guess I'll hang out somewhere in the middle because I'm going to ski, but I don't want to leave this poor friend. It's nighttime skiing. It's not, the best to be skiing for the first time in a very long time. And finally, at one point, we're all together. We've done so many runs. The same thing kept happening. Kept bombing down the mountain. I was like, this is so weird. And then we're all together. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going. I'm just going to ski as hard as I want, as fast as I want down the mountain, because that's what I want to do. I want to rip. And I ripped, and I watched him try and catch me. And I just went, no. And I went faster, and I met them all at the bottom. And, had a great time, whatever. We get into the truck. And the first thing he does is turn and he looks at me and he goes, you go faster on your skis than I do my snowboard. And I instantly knew at that moment he was so deeply challenged by me being better at a sport than him. And I knew we went on one more date, but I knew it was already dead in the water from that point because I could not be better than him at something that I was so professionally trained at. And I think that's a really clear indication. Take them to do the things that you do and really, really let the cards fall. I can't be better at skiing than he is. And that was the end of that dating scenario.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that's a huge red flag. So,
don't we all love a really competitive winning man? We want to be with the champion, don't we?
Yeah, I love when somebody can't handle my success. It's so attractive. It just gets me so hot. Like when they don't accept me for who I am.
I only go for first place on the podium.
So I want to bring it back to what is a date, because I think this is such a great question, especially when there's so many times where it's like, let's hang out. You know, like times where it's like very ambiguous, or like you're a couple dates in and you're like, what? And like you haven't like clearly communicated and gotten that clarity on what are we doing here? Are we trying to get to know each other? Are we progressing towards a sexual relationship? Are we progressing towards like dating? Are we? And then, I mean, there's so many questions about the relationship escalator where you're like heading towards something specific instead of just getting to know somebody. But I say I want to define a date as intentionally getting to know someone.
Okay. See, that's a little problematic for me because
Okay.
the amount of times where I have gone, oopsies, I'm on a date and I didn't know, is so vast. And then you're going, okay, does every guy I hang out with want to go on a date with me? Because this happens a lot. So is there a clearing? Is there a sign? Does somebody say, hey, now it's a date?
It should be expressed. It should be clearly expressed. This is a date I am asking you on it, right? It should be part of the asking. It should be part of the situation. It should be clarified. Absolutely. But like, it's not always.
Unless you're not sure if you want to date them.
Right. But I wanted to leave space in that definition for friend dates, right? And just like a date could be something else, right? Like a date doesn't have to involve romance. But I think in a lot of our definitions, it does. And in a lot of our mindsets, it does.
So is it just a time frame of showing up and doing the same thing together?
Yeah, I guess it can't be. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Like, if I hardly know someone and I express an explicit intention, like, hey, I want to get to know you because there might be potential for us to date each other. That's just so weird to me.
Well, that's
like,
when
I'm an explicit communicator, but when I invite women to the gym, it's like, oh yeah, just come hang out with me at the gym. Like, let's visit. There's no like,
this is
oh,
what
I'm gonna date you.
What you're describing is a pre-date. You're describing a date screening, which is not always a bad idea, but it's still technically a date. And then you're doing the same thing. You're literally going on a date without clarifying that it's a date so that you can then be like, oh no, I didn't date them. Like, that's what kind of sucks sometimes. Like, just be explicit. Just admit that you want to go on a date, or admit that this is a pre-date. But you know what a pre-date is? It's still the fucking first date.
Okay, though. There's this idea of dating. Like, we just have these pictures inculcated into us from media of what a date is. And so I think the word date has so much baggage. And so if I'm inviting someone to come cold plunging with me, or exercise with me, or come over for tea, I'm not using that language because we have all these connotations about the word, and then people feel more stressed and inauthentic. Like, there's all this baggage, all these connotations. So I think the sweet spot, if I'm going to date intentionally, I'm going to communicate with someone that I like them and I want to get to know them more. And my intention in having them come to the gym with me is to get to know them more because I like them. Now, well, how do I communicate that I like them romantically? Romantically has also got a bunch of connotations. So open for input there.
I like this, and I do like the idea of having like almost a pre-date date, right? Where it's like, and I like the clear communication of, I really want to get to know you. Perfect. Like, and this is my plan moving forward, and this is what's on my mind. Amazing. That's like, clear communication is just everything, right? I think on the flip side, though, there is a benefit to setting up a container that allows you to be kind of free in this, like, oh, it's a date. I can see if I have romantic feelings for them. There's no kind of, because if that isn't clear that the other person is trying to figure that out as well, then maybe you'll stop yourself. Maybe you'll get too nervous. Maybe you won't, touch them on the arm in that way that the other person feels that spark and goes, oh, maybe I do like them in this way, right? Like, it opens up that space and allows for this like container of like, do we like each other? And it's not just like, because even saying getting to know someone can be so, it's got a whole spectrum, right? And I guess this is just devil's advocate on the other side of like saying it's a date allows you, like it can make you really nervous saying it's a date, but it can also make you relax into it and go, cool, they like me too. That spark isn't unjustified. And like that, I don't know, it can make you feel a little bit held.
I also think that I would be nervous getting super sweaty. Like, I don't want to go to the gym and have acid if that's not, one, what I do, and two, you want to see me work out and sweat and see whether I can keep up. I want to go hard. But getting hot and sweaty as like the beginning of something, whew.
That's so sexy though.
I'm going to be honest though, there are a lot of, ooh, that sounds spicy. But there are partners that I didn't want to go get sweaty with and like get super messy, hot and heavy in that way. But it's funny when I think about that now because I'm like, you would in other scenarios with them. So doing that for a first date or a get to know date, I find that could be really challenging, especially I can only speak from a female experience, but a lot of women want to look good. They want to put their best face forward. And while that face might melt off, eventually, if you hang out with them long enough, that might not be the place where they're going to start, you know?
It does break down barriers.
Now, I want to make people feel safe enough to be super authentic. I don't want people to have to try and court me and look good around me and make a positive impression. I want to see them in their natural habitat. And maybe that's a pre-date, but the language of dating is, oh, let's prepare, let's get all dressed up, let's put on our best self, and let's impress this person. And that to me is just bullshit. And that is not going to lead to a compatible long-term relationship. What's going to lead to a compatible long-term relationship is getting to know people in their natural habitat and spending time with each other out of this inauthentic environment, which for a lot of people, dating is very inauthentic. People are putting on a mask and they're trying to impress others. And that to me is the baggage of dating. It's, I am trying to get this person to like me. And like, I don't operate that way. I don't try and get people to like me.
No, and that is why, like, one of my core things that I will always say about a first date is that, like, forget if they like you. It doesn't matter. That's not your job. Trying to figure out if you like them. Because I think so many people get caught up in like, oh, what if I want them to like me? And it's like that is going to be your first mistake of like, just drop that. Like, do you like them? Do you like spending time with them? That's all you need to worry about. But I think you got to give people a little bit of slack though. Like there is something to being like, I don't want to be sweaty. Like maybe you're really self-conscious about the way you sweat. You know, like again, we're getting really into this gym example. I want to like escape this gym example, but
okay, let me just clarify for a minute. I love to work out. Like I said, hot and sweaty, salty and all that. But I don't want to have sweat, saltiness in my eyeballs, and I won't be as objective at paying attention to you. I'm going to appreciate my endorphins, perhaps. You know, I'm going to feel maybe a little bit weird because I am red in the face and working out. And that's the way that I want to work out. You know, I don't really let people at the gym, total sidetrack, but short and sweet here. I don't let people at the gym come up and talk to me because I want to focus on my gym workout. If we know each other and we've got that rapport, then like, yeah, let's crush it at the gym together. But it's a different approach. Yes, I do want to stress test people in so many ways, and we can get into that too. But the gym is just a piece where that might take me a few dates, you know?
Yeah, so I think the gym is a pre-date for me. I think that's ultimately because I don't want to spend time with someone if I don't want to spend time with them. So like, I do not want to reserve an hour of tea with someone if they're not as healthy as me, if they're not as health conscious as me. So let me.
So if they don't align with your values.
Yeah, that's right. So I love this because Paige, what you're sharing is that the gym, so many environments are just not optimized for this we talked about it, this attention, this quality attention that's so important to conscious dating. And if we're in the gym, it's not an environment for that quality attention because there's something else happening. So to correct myself, my gym is my pre-date, and then my zero risk date is usually just tea.
I go for a walk. A lot of my first dates involve a walk. Like, you're outside, you're getting that like healthy, like there's nature involved, right? And you can just talk and walk, and you walk for as long as you want to, and you can stop whenever you want to. Like, that's a key part of a first date, right? Like, you need an exit strategy.
I like to show off my house though.
Right, right, you don't want to invite them in, or it's anyways, I love that. But I did want to ask you guys, what is your favorite, most like different first date that you've ever been on? Like, what would you be like, oh my God, this was the best experience? Or maybe not first date, but just date, and like in the beginnings of dating. Like an example, one of my favorite things that I've done is take like rolls of paper and then get naked. Again, this was like a couple dates in, but like get naked and then paint each other's body parts and then like put them on the canvas. It got so fun.
Wow.
So what are your kind of like favorite dates that you've like concocted?
I love hot sauce, and this is going on a date with a lawyer. And I said, I noticed it was on a profile. He had made his own hot sauce, and I asked him about his hot sauce, diving deep here. Go and make it my own. I bottle it, all this good stuff. And I said, great. Well, I really want to go to this hot sauce store. Would you want to go with me? Get a bunch of hot sauce, go and get some chicken wings, cover it in hot sauce, and then sit down and talk. And so we did our own version of Hot Ones. And we went back and forth asking questions as we went up the Scoville list, and it was super fun to get hot and sweaty in a different context. So I do like getting red in the face and hot and sweaty on my first date. And I just asked him progressively spicier questions, and I had a lot of fun. He wasn't my life partner, that's okay, but I sure as hell had a good time.
Damn, I like it. Yeah, I like being creative based on things you see on their like profiles, or that you meet them and you talk about something, and just like hold on to the first thing that clicks. Just be like, oh yeah, that sounds great, let's do that. And like, I do like using dates to get out of my normal patterns too, right? Or doing something that like, I love doing this, but I don't do it enough. Or like, yeah, I love bringing creativity into those first few dates, especially.
All right, so we're gonna get into some dating psychology here. And I'm talking in the heterosexual sense here. If women perceive you leading a group, they're going to be way more attracted to you. And so I invite women I'm interested in to my events, and they see me lead groups of people, and they like me. And so often what I do is I just invite women to my events, and they come and they see what I do, and they're attracted to me. And then like I'll set up a date.
That works well if you run events, but as most people don't tend to run events, it is always good, right?
Community. That's my advice.
All right.
The other thing is I climb trees with women. Yeah, I climb up a tree, and it's really scary for them, but I support them. So yeah, there's this one tree that I really love to climb.
Is it the climbing tree in Vancouver, the secret climbing tree?
And it's really high, and I do it in the night, and I get people. I got this one woman in a ski onesie, and we both wore pink party hats, and we climbed up and took off the ski onesies at the top.
It is, right? It's so fun. Just do something, and I love that has the context of like, it's always good to introduce something that has an element of playfulness without it being like overtly sexual, right? Like I once went, and it was early, like we hadn't had sex yet, and like we went like skinny dipping in the ocean, like a cold plunge, like after watching like the sunrise, and like that ended up being like like very charged and like very like sensual because it was like, oh yeah, like, and I mean that involves nudity, so I guess it's a little different. But something like, I love places where it gives you the opportunity to interact in like an innocent way, right? Like you can help somebody climb a tree. Like it gives you a context in which you can easily like establish physical touch, which like doesn't always happen just like on a date.
I'm going to add into this, I'm a big supporter of getting people to do something together. And I don't mean just a walk. And I always encourage my friends, don't have them come to your house where you sit around and you have tea on the first date. Like, go do something where you get to know how you can work together. You know, it can be going bouldering, it can be going for a hike, it can be going skiing, but get something that's physically active where the two of you are going to work together, where there's going to be some little challenge, whether it's climbing a tree or you name it, but a challenge that the two of you need to face together and communicate collectively. That is low key what I am looking for, is how can we work together to solve whatever the problem is with some form of physicality.
Love that.
So I want to get to know them as quickly as possible and figure out as quickly as possible if there's potential. And so that's why I sit down in a quiet room and have tea with them, and I ask them really personal questions. And if I can't have an energetic, fun conversation with them, the energy's not there, then it's not there. I don't want any distractions for getting to know this person as much as possible, seeing how willing they are to take off their armor, really understanding their values. I just find it so counterproductive that people go to restaurants and they go to bars and they go to loud environments filled with distractions to socialize.
Yeah.
Why like if you want to have a very meaningful connection with someone, do not go to an environment filled with noise and distraction.
I think that raises a really good point of bringing in the why when we're talking about intentionality. Why are people dating? Like, some people date to, let's get real, they're not there to have a meaningful connection. They don't have a meaningful connection with themselves oftentimes. So going to a loud bar, going to a place where you're not really going to watch a movie in a movie theater, ooh, that's a pet peeve for me.
I know.
I don't want to go to a movie theater. What am I going to learn about you? That I can sit next to you and you maybe won't ask me questions while we watch the movie and we can share popcorn?
And like, if you're going to watch a movie, like at least on like a third date where you can like snuggle. So there's like physical intimacy that's being established in a very like low key manner.
You already know them a little bit. You know how they problem solve. You know their vulnerabilities. You can have laughs at that point, sure. But a first date or a second date, I'm like, that's a waste of our date.
Hey everyone, this is Editing Kris. I hope you have enjoyed part 1 of this episode. Due to some technical difficulties, like I mentioned earlier, there is now going to be a discontinuation of our conversation, but this next bit that we caught was so powerful and doesn't need much context to drop you straight in. So here we go. I want to challenge what you said at the beginning of that statement, which was, what should we be looking for? Like, I don't like shoulds. I don't like shoulds in anything. And you shouldn't should yourself, because you're going to should all over the place. And I just want to be, I disagree with that in terms of even like your statement that like, this is what we should, like, even if you're saying we should be looking for nourishment in a relationship, like, maybe that's not what people want, and that's okay. And I just want to normalize whatever people are seeking is okay, and that there shouldn't, that I don't agree with shoulds.
What if they're just seeking rebounding? What do you think about that? Is that conscious dating? If
no,
the intention is to rebound because one feels so unwhole with themselves after a breakup.
That's not good. But I think conscious just means you've thought about it. conscious means I'm doing this on purpose. Like if I'm looking for a fuck buddy and I'm doing it on purpose, great. You know, like if you're looking for like, as long as you're doing it on purpose, as long as it aligns with your goals. Of course, I don't support somebody who's obviously like covering up some deeper trauma with like a continuous stream of like unhealthy, unconscious dates. But I want to normalize that people are seeking relationships for different reasons at different times in their life. Like if you've just broken up with someone, it's like, of course you can still date, but hopefully you know that this isn't the right time for you to be entering into a serious partnership. And so hopefully you are using the intentionality of, oh, I just want to fuck. Great. You know?
I actually totally wholeheartedly agree that if you're in your fuck girl, fuck guy, fuck boy, fuck babe,
fuck them
energy, and that's the space that you want to reside, is you want sexual pleasure and to figure out what you enjoy and what flavor you enjoy, I think you can absolutely be intentional with that. I think you can also be intentional with myself. I don't want to fuck around. I'm not here to fuck around. I hope I can swear on this thing. I don't date to play. I date to love. I date to have partnership and companionship. And it's a process of this date. Like dating is messy and it's complicated and it's confusing.
Hello again. One more moment of discontinuation here. Here is an impassioned speech caught on a Rogue recording, and I really wanted to share it. But I just want to encourage people to want what they want. And I want to encourage the seasons of somebody's life. Like there are times when it is appropriate to want just flings. Like that is what's actually going to be most healing and wonderful for you. And you're still going to date through all of that. And so dating is that whole conversation. It's not just I'm ready to settle down and that's the only time it's holy to date. Like you just can't be holier than thou when it comes to dating. You date for the reason that you date and you want a relationship for the way that you want it. And I celebrate that as long as you've thought about it. I celebrate any choice you make as long as you have thought about the why and that you're living in alignment with what that is. And finally, after that little segment, we are ready to drive straight into part 2. I promise this time a full 40-minute conversation in the flow about conscious dating. And while I have you here, I'd like to make a brief mid-roll announcement. We will be hosting our very first live in-person women's retreat this September. That's September 2023, local to Vancouver, Canada. It will be a sensual reclamation where women get to dive deep into their sensual primal natures in the company of other women. It's an invitation to step out of your everyday life and into incredibly potent healing practices in order to claim the sex, love, and relationships that you truly desire. Send me a message on Instagram at @HellOfAHall to learn more. And now for part 2. We fixed the mics. Yay.
When we put all the responsibility on ourselves to create the chemistry, dating becomes more of a chore. It becomes more inauthentic. It becomes effort. And there's a pressure that we're putting on ourselves. What I've found is that there's nothing I cannot be inauthentic for more than like 5 minutes. Like my true self is going to come out. And so if they're not drawn to my true authentic self, and if there isn't that natural ignition of chemistry, then the relationship's not going to work. It's going to be effortful. And so I think the reason why a lot of people are not energized by dating is that they're in this mindset of outcome attachment, and they're putting all this weight on themselves to create chemistry and make the other person like them, when really chemistry is this mysterious, complex physiological process. It's not even about language. It's not even about verbal communication. It's so much more, right? Like what's the stat? 70% of
70% of what?
Like nonverbal 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Yes. And then 30% is like intonation, or like 25% is intonation. Then the other 5% is just your words.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're talking about chemistry and I'm like, yeah, it's the chemicals in your brain. Right. That's chemistry. I was like, literally, that's where my brain went. I'm like, okay, it's that spark. It's that je ne sais quoi. It's that thing that you just don't quite understand, but if it's not there, you're dead in the water. And yeah, we can't create it. It's there or it's not there. And yeah, sometimes the most heartbreaking situations are the ones where everything's there, but there's no spark.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that's difficult to navigate is also if you have it at the beginning and it disappears. Like you start with one date and it's there and then it's gone. And to come down from that, it's so hard because here you have all these like, oh my gosh, I like this person. I like them because of boom, 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 boom. And there's that chemistry tied to it. You're like, this is the most epic date. And then you get to the third date and you go, ooh, I don't know, something's changed. I don't feel the same. So chemistry really is mysterious. And I find that it can change from date to date, or it could go the other way where you have to give someone time. And I think that's less about chemistry and more so getting into the reasons why you like them.
I want to point out the reasons why you like them. That's very cognitive, and chemistry is very somatic. And so I like that you're bringing in, there's the intellect, there's communication, there's language, and then there's somatic connection, chemistry, pheromones. But what I'm really thinking about is this philosophy of surrender, and this appreciation that I have way less control than I think I have. Like, yes, it's important to have agency and it's important to be autonomous and it's important to take responsibility for events in our lives. But human connection, it's such a complex dance. And so I think the approach of surrendering to the roller coaster of chemistry, surrendering to that and not getting into this state of blaming ourselves for the disappearance of chemistry, or, like, I don't know, maybe you're on a first date and you accidentally like burp in front of your date and they're super turned off and they leave. Like, you didn't consciously choose to burp, sometimes that happens. It's like we're in this body of cells.
Yeah, and if that turns them away, like, good riddance anyways. Like, that's not the one for you. Like, you got to be able to make some normal body sounds. But that's such a good mindset. So, like, I mean, one of my favorite mindsets around dating is going into it thinking, I'm going to meet a new person today. And it's just, and that coupled with like taking responsibility for, like I said this earlier, but like really going into it with do I like them? Like, it doesn't really matter if they like me. If they like me, that's a bonus. If they like me, great. But it's just like love too. Like, love isn't dependent on the other person loving you back. You still love them. And it's the same way. Like, and if they end kind of acceptance of whether or not they like you, and just that's not in your control. So don't worry about it. But yeah, just the idea of going into a date thinking, I'm going to meet somebody new.
Yeah, and what's coming to mind hearing that is our mind gets polluted by the fortune teller. And the fortune teller is like, oh, is there potential here? Oh, are we compatible? Oh, is this going to be long term? Oh, are we going to have sex? And so we're fortune telling and we're like in the future. And I think that if we just simplify it down to like, oh, I'm just meeting someone new, and really I'm just figuring out if I want to spend more time with this person. Like, it's not like, do I want to have sex with this person? Do I want to make babies with this person? Like, all of that is cognitive overload, and it's taking us out of the moment, and it's just stressing us out. It's like, it's leading to more of that pressure, right?
I mean, it is a lot easier said than done, though. Like, we've all been on a second date and been like, oh shit, my brain just went to marriage. It just thought about what it would be like to be married to this person. Crap, I didn't want to go there, but it's there.
What about the babies? Suddenly you're like, we could have babies.
What would our babies look like?
What's their last name? I don't know their last name yet. Uh-oh.
This is actually, we're talking about intentional dating. And maybe the extreme for intentional dating is having these conversations outright.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of great when you can bring in those questions like really early. and not like frighten them away. Maybe wait till the second date. Like first date, just kind of let it be. But like you can bring it in like within the first couple weeks. I'll always
pre-screen them.
Okay, maybe not pre-screening, but like
send them the assessment.
Yeah, here are my 15 questions you need to answer in the exact right way for me to date you. But I'll never forget that I was talking to one of my best friends before I started dating my ex, or when I was just starting, like it was like 2 weeks in, and this ended up being like a 2-year relationship. And I had this really big part of me that like, if somebody doesn't accept, I just can't be with them. Like they need to accept this part of me because it is a part of me and it is not always something that people accept. And I kind of brought that up to my friend and I was saying like, yeah, I got it. Cause this is the last piece that like isn't confirmed yet. And I was basically like, once I can confirm that they're okay with this, I'm just going to fall head over heels for this person. Like it's just going to happen. I can feel it, but I can feel myself holding back because that one thing didn't make me feel safe yet. And she was like, oh my gosh, you can't say that. You can't ask that question. You can't go there. Like, no, you can't go there that soon. But the next time I saw him, it came out and I said it and he was happy with it. And the rest is history. We had a very successful 2-year relationship and I needed to say it. And I think you should say those things that are so burning in your mind that you're like, I need to know. Like if you need a partner who wants to have kids with you, mention it as soon as you feel comfortable because it's so important.
What is our intention? What is the intention of the date? If the intention of the date is to live with someone and potentially start a family, if that's your intention for a partnership, then an intentional date, maybe second date, would look like having these sensitive conversations. And we're kind of going into the during section of the date here. But I think it's so important to get on the same page as to what an ideal partnership looks like for each of you. I haven't done this, but like, man, that seems like a very great activity to do with a partner.
Yeah. And I think second date is even kind of jumping the gun. I think you need a solid like 3 to 5 dates first where it's just pure fun.
But aren't you just wasting your time?
Right. And that's hard. But like as long as you're having fun though, right? Like your question on a first date should be, do I want to see them again? Your question on a second date should be, do I want to see them again? But it should also be, and what should we do to maybe reveal a little bit more of their character?
I mean, my third date was flying to a different country, hanging out with him, and then meeting all of his friends in that city. So I don't know. I've always had this set, okay, we need to
fail fast.
Yeah. Or fly high. I mean, come on. I passed
my second date was the Mile High Club. Just kidding.
Okay, I was not saying that. But also, I think the rule book doesn't really apply. At the same time, if we're talking about support, when I was dating when I was 15, totally different from when I'm dating when I'm 20 to dating now. Right now, I know what I want. I'm willing to put it out there. That might change over time, but I know what I'm asking for and I'm not afraid to ask it. I've said to people actually on the second or third date, who's your ideal person? And I've said to them, would you date yourself? And I think it's important to know that. Those are tough questions, but that's being intentional. And we're talking about being intentional. So if we're talking about being intentional, we want someone to be intentional too. That's a different kind of person than someone that's just dating around, not paying attention.
All right. So I'm all about efficiency. And the approach that I would take is I would pre-screen. If I were to really get extremely intentional with my dating strategy, and by the way, I don't have a dating strategy because I am so happy being single, and there's more to say about that. Like my dating is just, I'm just in my natural habitat, and the right women appear in my life because I'm just doing what I love. And so that's a whole different style of dating. And it's conditional on loving your life and loving being single.
Also having the right situations in your life that allow a lot of meeting of new people, which not everybody has.
Totally social
But
life.
I think that is a very good strategy for dating, is just go places where you would like go to a dance class where, you know, there's tons of singles like who dance, you know, like it can be, yeah, just put yourself in the way. Actually, I love this one quote. It's like, put yourself in the way of beauty. And so you just like put yourself in situations where beauty might be able to find you. And the same way with dates and stuff, just like bring yourself to places where other people with similar mindsets can find you.
What are your thoughts on bringing friends to dates? Going on like group situations rather than just one-on-ones?
Interesting question. I think it can be really valuable. Like you can get a lot more data really quickly, but you can also be sitting there thinking, damn it, I just want to be alone with this person. I just want all their attention. I am so like enraptured by who they are. And I just like, we've all gotten to that point, right? Like, especially like a couple dates in and you're just like, honestly, I just want to see them. Like, I just want to spend more and more time with them because I'm just so curious and so interested by them. And so that can sometimes be kind of like the dark side of that, but it can be really, really helpful.
Yeah, it's important when we're connecting with people to maximize conversational airtime and also balance it. So the larger the group, the less conversational airtime each person has. So that's a consideration. But I mean, if you respect your friends and they have a certain reaction to them and they observe something, that can be very valuable. Now, I want to come back to what I was sharing. And I said, if I were to practice extreme intentional dating, even though I'm not, I would pre-screen people before even meeting with them. I would make sure.
Create them on the internet?
No. I would have conversations with them. I'd probably have a phone call with them. And I'd be like, okay, what do you want? Okay, do you want kids? Like if I were to be super intentional, like, yo, I'm getting a vasectomy. I'm 100% not having kids. I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste my time. Sure, it can be fun, but like I have friends in my life. I don't need new friends. I don't need to have fun on dates. Like for me, like if I'm going to be super intentional, the purpose of dating is to find a partner. It's not to find friends. Although I think that if you're meeting people who can also be your friends, that's also the highest form of conscious dating. But if I'm being super intentional about dating, I am going to go straight to the money. I'm going to ask the sensitive questions even before meeting up with them. And then, like for me, I was going to say drinking and smoke, you know, like whatever. For me, I have criteria that are objective, and one of them is kids. And so I'm going to put that card on the table.
I started off disagreeing with you. And then as you started talking more, I'm like, you know what? You are right. That is a way of very intentionally dating. But I think the beginning of a relationship can be really delicate. And I think that
can scare someone
you
away.
can really easily scare someone off, right? Like that can be like, I've also spoken to someone who like, she was like, yeah, I sat down on a first date and I asked him about his credit score and I asked him about this and this. And I was like, okay, that's a little too far, right?
But that's the best data ever to have on someone.
Sure, it's great data, but you know what? You can find it out other ways.
Exactly.
And you can get inferences of it, right? Like you can ask really fun. Okay, let's go into some fun questions that we love asking on dates.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because those questions that reveal so much about a human's.
Do you have STDs?
but you don't have to ask that, right? You can be like you can ask when's the last time you were tested or whatever else, but like that should be disclosed in a different situation. But you can ask questions that subtly get to the point and tell you so much data without straight up having a conversation. But like, because honestly, if a guy called me before a date and was like, and also like the pre-screening also says that you didn't meet them in person, and meeting somebody in person already tells you that there's so many compatibility points because they found themselves in the exact same place that you did.
Exactly. So I don't like I get the pre-screening thing. I get it, but you can do that on the date without making it like an interview. Like I mean, I do want to know what people want. Do you want to have kids? Where do you see yourself living? You know, what's the spiciest situation you've ever had? I want to watch their reaction. I don't want them to fill out the survey. You're going to get so much more from that in-person connection. As you mentioned, she might tick all of the correct boxes and have no chemistry with you. And okay, you're right back where you started, or you could have multiple conversations before meeting up. But the beauty is in witnessing someone in person, putting them in that spicy hot seat, whatever we want to call it. And that's also why I like the idea of doing an exercise, or ultimately after a couple dates, roping in friends, getting them. What I find is you actually get a lot of data in witnessing someone else communicate with that same person. It tells me so much more than me eye gazing with them and asking them the tough questions. I get to watch someone else play and communicate with them. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that they fidget sometimes. I didn't know that they lean back when somebody leans in. I find that that's a lot of information that my questionnaire usually doesn't have. You know what I mean?
Well, my friends, if we're going to do this right, we need as much data as possible.
Okay, but let's go into the questions.
Okay. So,
what do we like asking when we're getting to know somebody?
First, I just want to build off what you said, Paige. I love inviting people to events I'm hosting or I'm a part of, and I get to see them socialize. Social awareness and relational intelligence is so important to me. And just, I want to be met in my, it's not even extroversion, it's social confidence and tactfulness. And so that's super important.
I think you also learn a lot from, like, either you see them, how they treat their friends, or how they treat your friends, like there's just even so much of, are they considerate towards others? Like, I love, there's been a couple times on dates recently where like somebody will turn to like the person I'm on a date with will like turn to a random stranger and offer them something, or like, you know, you can see just like this innate kindness within them.
I think the piece here too is because community is so important to all of us, getting the understanding of what they're like with community. How do they interact with people? How do they connect? Again, that's something for me that you can put it on a questionnaire, but I want to see it live in action. As you said, you have these gatherings, you get people together, they have an experience. You can't really experience someone from a questionnaire. This is where you really get to experience them face to face.
On this theme of really getting to know someone, I haven't done this, but what I would love to do is create a container in the date to ask anything, to ask personal questions, to really understand and learn about each other. So setting a container looks like, hey, this isn't often done on first dates, but I'm wondering if you would be open to doing it a little differently and maybe having a little bit more fun. I'm a big advocate for like vulnerability and authenticity. And, you know, if we can be more authentic and vulnerable with each other, we're going to get to know each other better and it's going to be more fun. And I'm wondering if we can do something together that brings out that authenticity and vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Is that cool with you? And then you can play the Ask Me Anything game, or you can ask the question, what are you like when no one's watching and you don't have to impress anyone? Like, you know, that's one playful question, right? Like when was a time when you were fully, authentically yourself? What were you doing? Who were you with? Right?
Yeah. In what moments do you love yourself most?
I like to ask people when they felt most alive.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Honestly, too. Okay. So I want to understand people's values, and the best indicator, we're getting personal here. Best indicator of values for me is two things. How someone spends their time, how someone spends their money.
I like that. I actually had someone ask me, what's your morning routine? And it sounded a little clinical when I first heard it, right? It's like, here's a toothbrush and dental floss for your birthday. But then I thought, yeah, how do I spend my morning? Do we wake up at the same time? Do we drink coffee? Do we not drink coffee? Do we make smoothies? Do you want to be left alone? Do you want comfort?
I personally actually, that one hits me a little differently, just because I've struggled for a long time to, like, with the whole concept and with creating a good one for me. And anyways, I've gone through a lot of that whole mindset of like, oh my God, you're failing if you don't have a morning routine and all this stuff. And I think waking up at the same time and like having similar kind of like routines that you can play around with each other is important, but I don't know if I don't know, that one wouldn't make my list personally.
I think that the point that Paige is making is, what are like the rituals throughout your day? What does wellness look like for you? How do you keep your mind healthy, and how do you nourish yourself? Oh, like I take a bath in the evening. I listen to podcasts. Like, I don't know.
The thing is, like, I love that. And I also want to point out though that, you know, stuff like that usually comes out in regular conversation, right? As long as you're not talking about the weather, stuff comes out. Like, you learn that they're reading this book and they tell you about the book, and that tells you so much about a person. Like, what are you reading right now?
I really want to know if somebody's a 5-alarm wake up call or whether they're just one. Because you know what? I would not figure that out after the first date or the second date unless I'm sleeping at their house. And I think that's also fun, right? Do they put weird names for their alarms? Because I have some strange one. Yeah, right.
I love it.
And it adds a level of quirkiness. So you can play it up, I think. It's just, I want to get a sense of someone's morning routine, because if we're not aligned, I might drive them insane, or they might drive me insane. Are you a messy person, or do you like it really spick, span, and clean? Like, I know it's a direct question, but you can be playful. And for me, I want someone that's playful, that can just yes and keep it going, you know?
It's true. Yeah. It's the way that they answer the question, not just what they're saying. And I don't know. I just
toilet paper up or
oh my God, down,
roll,
down, up is just
over
wrong.
top or down below.
Down below. Over top is so weird. I will like go into somebody's house and switch it.
Okay. I want to build off what you said, Paige. You said that unless you're staying over at their place, you won't know whether they're like a 5-alarm type of person or they're a morning warrior. Now, I think and this is my approach to dating, is if I think there's potential, I will live with them for like a few nights, and I will make that happen somehow. And then immediately you'll know.
Well, that's what small trips are for. That's why there is like
but natural habitat. None of this artificial, like, oh, we're on a trip. Like, you want to see what people's habits are. You want to see you want to see people's patterns in their natural habitat without the peak experiences. I mean, a lot of people, they meet at festivals, and so they have this glorified version of each other because they're in.
I think festivals may be a little bit of our community seeping into that.
Yeah. Festivals are parties, even though, like, we see each other at these parties, and they're exciting places to be, and people are generally happy and fun. How many people at a party are probably depressed when they're alone? Probably a lot. Like this, you know.
Hang on.
I don't know. That's
like
not giving people enough credit.
Come on.
But yes, okay. So you want to bring people into your regular life, but at the same time, like, okay, so the argument for peak experience though, or for the argument of going away on a trip, that makes you problem solve so much. So there's a value in both, right? Like, very soon in introducing okay, let's go spend multiple days together, and seeing somebody's rhythm over a whole day, no matter if it's in your like normal environment or in a different environment, will give you so much data, right? Like, that tells you so much about your compatibility. And yeah, there's so much like inherent problem solving there, which I love.
Well, that's the thing that I found with my pardon me, with my current partner, we went to the museum. I hung out with his friends. We all got to know each other. It was just like a mundane, simple thing. But we'd been out dancing the night before, right? We went our separate ways and then met up to go to the museum. And then I met up with a whole other group of friends. And we spent all of this time. I got to witness all of these people. And it was just like this really intense container of getting to know someone, seeing all these different people in his life, all these different scenarios, dancing, museum, you name it. It painted a picture. And I just think having multiple different experiences, multiple different situations, and then including that, peppering in these questions, having silly moments, having questions about asking about their morning routine, it'll tell you so much. But I also did the trip to LA and spent several days with him. And I had only known him for a week prior to that, like super crazy for me on my scale of things. And I got to see what time he woke up, what time he went to bed, the way more friends saw him, how he cooked food, what's his exercise routine. And to me, that told me so much, but it was all intense, all in one. And to me, that felt really intentional. It's either I like this person or we'll be friends or nothing at all. Crash and burn.
I love failing fast, like in business or in dating. Fail fast and figure it out as fast as you can, and either like sink in deeper or take your space or you're done with it.
So we're talking about like these peak experiences, museums, like a lot of people, their dating game revolves around these experiences. And I want to say that if the intention is to go deep and to fully understand someone's values and whether there's chemistry, not doing the experiences would probably lead to more progress in uncovering the chemistry, because it's about attention. Conscious dating is about attention. And the enemy of conscious conversation is distracting, entertaining things in the environment. And so, again, if I'm going to go to the extreme and practice intentional dating, I'm going to have tea with someone in a quiet space with no one else around, because I'm going to give them my full attention. And this is the first date, by the way. Maybe the second date's fun, third date, of course. Maybe then there's a trip. But when I'm trying to get to know someone, I'm not distracting myself from getting to know them. I have the intention to get to know them, not to play games or watch a movie or like have some fun experience. That's for later.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the way we're talking about it too is just we want variability, right? Yeah. Like you want the first 5 dates to not look like either of the other ones, and to get this kind of full spectrum look, like just thinking about like even just having those random decks of cards that has those random questions that like are made for you, or those like 36 questions to fall in love, like that whole survey that was really popularized a little while ago that somebody recently brought to my attention. Like those can be really useful tools to being like, you know what, I don't have these questions that I know to ask, but like, let's bring these up. Let's bring this into the conversation, and it'll take you places you never thought you'd go.
That's exactly it. One, I really love We're Not Really Strangers. Oof, if you're not prepared to cry and have a really beautiful experience with a stranger, don't bring that deck out. But you'll go places if you do. But really where I'm going with the museum, with these other locations, is asking questions. Ask a lot of questions. I think that's really it. For me, I like the creativity of mixing it up, of looking at something and being like, what do you see out of this? Does it make sense to you? Wow, that was a really long time ago, 500 BC, whatever the case may be. For me, it was looking at Olmec heads. I had studied all this archaeology. I had studied about history in different locations in different countries, and being able to rope in a little bit of my past into the conversation. So also getting them to discuss things that mattered to me that I've learned, I think is important. So if it can be in a place, as you mentioned, maybe it's not for me creating experiences with getting lots of people together. Maybe it's showing them a piece of my life in a different way, and asking them to engage with that and what comes up for them. And do they find that attractive or interesting? Do they dig deep? Or am I the only person asking questions? Because that is such a bummer and so unintentional for the other person, right?
That's honestly, like that is the biggest red flag for me, is somebody like not getting curious, right? Or like something comes up, they're learning more about you. Like you can feel the question that's right there and it goes unasked and it disappears. And you're like, oh, maybe, like, I don't know, just I guess a lack of curiosity, a lack of open curiosity and desire to get to know you. You can feel that. And I don't know, it just doesn't make you feel very seen.
Something that's coming up for me too with this is, would you always do this test questionnaire? Like that to me makes me think of somebody that you've met, online, not somebody that you've met in person. And so I'm curious your take on how you would approach it with someone that you've met in person and going from there.
And before you answer, I want to say that usually, at least I've seen this pattern so many times, the people that you end up having the best and most special connections with are the ones that don't look like anybody else you've dated. They're the times you fly to LA on the third date. They're the times you do all the random crazy stuff, just everything against your patterns.
Yes, and I've met people who've been in relationships for 5 years and then they finally figured out that they weren't compatible and so they broke up, and that's worth it. And I know what I want. I know what I want, and that's the other piece that happens before the date that's so important, is reflecting on what you want, but not what type of human you want. I mean, yeah, values are important, but the specifics, the details, they're not important. What's important is what sort of relationship you want to be in, and what does that person enjoy? What do they love to spend their time doing?
So as we start to wrap up here, I just want to give us all a chance to say a final thought, something that we want to leave our listeners with. I think this conversation really doesn't have an end, and we all love talking about dating because it's just such a raw human experience that we all have.
First and foremost, when going on a date, your first date, I just want to go have fun. No matter what the outcome, I want to make sure that I am enjoying my time. If I'm not enjoying my time, I want an exit strategy to be able to bow out and leave, short and sweet. I want to then take the time to get to know and ask questions. But the thing is with being intentional is if we have such a big checklist, I worry about dipping out of intentionality and following this checklist. So I like to have a friend that I check in with, just like I do with them. I have a friend who's an accountability buddy who goes, what did you like about them? What did you do? What did you like? What did you not like? Was there anything you didn't like? Was there an ick? Was there something where you went, ooh, I really don't know about that? So having accountability, having someone to have that conversation with, because as much as I know what I want, and I can gladly have those questions answered and ask my own on a date, for me, really, it's just 1, did I have fun? 2, what do I like? What do I not like? And 3, just keep going till I don't want to go. If I don't want to go on the date, really listen to your body. Listen to your body. Throw away the checklist sometimes. Just sit with it. And how do I feel? When I left that date, did I feel good or did I feel confused? Because that I find can tell you a lot. Is checklists are great. What you want out of a relationship is great. But what does your body tell you? And what can you relate to someone else that you like about that person?
This is what I would do. I would get off all the dating apps and I would start to socialize in authentic ways. Start to do things I enjoy, hang out with communities that I love, and I would step into my confidence and approach people who are attractive, introduce myself, get to know them, and then invite them over for a low-risk tea date, drill them with personal questions, make them feel like they're the only one that exists, create this container of safety and vulnerability and authenticity, celebrate what I'm hearing, right? A lot of people will practice listening, but it's not celebratory listening. Like every time someone's vulnerable with me, I am celebrating them. I'm so excited to see humans open up and share what's really going on, whether that's gratitude, pain, suffering. So from there, I invite them into my life, and I ask them to work out with me, cold plunge with me, come do my viving parkour jungle gym dance parties with me. I invite them into my attractive lifestyle. And if they're not into my lifestyle, then it's kind of a turnoff for me. Like, I need to be around super fun people who love to ride around on scooters with blasting music, right?
And yeah, I think the important part of that is just whatever your lifestyle is, right? Edit it out to put in whatever your values are, whatever your lifestyle is. And yeah, you guys said it so perfectly. I think the only thing I would add there is like the talking about being a magnet to what you want. Like, think about what you're bringing, like that to me is the key of intentional dating is who are you? What are you bringing to the table? Would you date yourself? Would you want to spend the time with yourself? Are you the one? Like that book, like again, like we've talked about this book in the past, but like becoming the one for yourself and becoming magnetic to things that you actually want. So I guess we're going to have to leave it here. Thank you guys so much for being on. I loved your perspectives and all the wisdom you brought to the table.
And if you want to come on a date with me, my email... Just kidding.
But his events are super, super fun, and you will meet excellent people where if you don't have a date, you very well could leave one with one by the end of it.
Just don't get hypnotized by my charm on the microphone.
Oh, that sexy, sexy voice. And we will leave some info about that in the show notes. Thanks, everyone. And with that, we come to the end of this episode of Reclaim Your Radiance. Thank you so much for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode and came away with some valuable insights, the absolute best way you can show your support and appreciation is by sharing it with your friends or on social media. Your support is absolutely invaluable. To connect, find us on Instagram at @HellOfAHall or on TikTok at Reclaim Your Radiance. Or you can sign up for our mailing list to receive bonus content and stay in touch with what's happening in the world of Reclaim Your Radiance, including local workshops, retreats, self-love courses, personal one-on-one coaching, and so much more. Head on over to the episode notes in the show description to find those links, and we hope to hear from you soon. All right, everyone, until next time, stay radiant.